crisis of unemployment and overproduction has always been a problem historically. In the U.S., there was an employment crisis that escalated in 2007 through 2009 until now. However, this unemployment rate really doubles because it doesn't count all women, youth, and the underemployed. Underemployed are the people who wish they were full-time, but they are part-time due to the capitalist system and its institutions. ABC News and journalists calculate the official unemployment rate is 9.1%, or 14 million people without jobs. Unemployment levels have remained so high due to overproduction in the U.S. and other capitalist countries. According to an outline on the BusinessInsider.com website, the president has a plan of 5 main parts to help produce 2 million jobs he promises. First part is tax cuts to help Americans with small businesses hire and grow. This is a reactionary tax for businesses. These tax cuts are from the payroll taxes that go to Social Security and Medicare trust funds for their workers. These will be cuts that will affect seniors who are in programs and people who are disabled to eventually plunder these programs for seniors and disabled in the end. Second part of Obama's plan is entitled Putting Workers Back on the Job While Rebuilding and Modernizing America. This plan is another tax break for the capitalists, which will definitely increase their profits and economic power. Third part is Pathways Back to Work for Americans looking for jobs. Under this plan, there are 3 sections. The first section is the Bridge to Work. This promises unemployment insurance programs. What it really means is insurance funds for workers whose hours and pay have been cut by employers. Those laid off do volunteer work or a job training while collecting unemployment benefits. The truth of the matter is, after their training, employers are not obligated to hire volunteers, and training and their benefits come to an end. The second section is, if employers hire long-term unemployed workers, there will be a $4,000 tax credit for employers. The third section is a plan that promises to create jobs opportunities for youth and people with low income by funding and introducing new training programs and jobs for them. Fourth part of Obama's plan is to prolong the payroll tax cut for workers by cutting Social Security and Medicare. The fifth part of Obama's plan is Social Security and Medicare will be paid for through budget cuts and tax breaks for the capitalists. In fields like education and healthcare is where the social needs are needed to be met for working class people. Instead, these working fields will be eliminated because the fields are not profitable in the capitalist system. This is the reason why under capitalism, unemployment cannot be resolved, causing overproduction and constant economic disasters. There are 5 reasons why capitalism cannot resolve unemployment. First is the unplanned economic system leads to periodic crisis of overproduction. This means the capitalists produce in quantities to sell a profit, then lay off workers. This keeps the competition among each other, controlling the murderous market to confine profits. Second, technology is used against workers, not for them. Technology is slowly replacing workers' labor, yet expecting workers to produce more for cheap labor. Third, the system requires a section of workers to be unemployed. It is not the capitalist interest for all workers to have jobs, knowing that workers may ask for higher wages. Fourth, the vast resources that could be used to apply idle workers are in the hands of a small number of capitalists. Because of the accumulated vast wealth of multimillionaires, the capitalist state and banks, it makes them feel free to invest and profit. The fifth is the capitalists only offer employment based on profitability. Indeed, capitalism will not spread their trillions if it doesn't sustain a profit for them. What we are also experiencing is a general crisis of overproduction. In Marx's analysis, he explained the change of a worker into a commodity. The driven division of the hardship labor of industrial work includes long hours of work and getting paid a low wage. Now, the necessities have become commodities. The economic freedom, which means having property and exploiting workers under these companies, is a bourgeois freedom of ownership that must be eradicated. Only the economic necessities motivate people to work. Real wages fall and capitalists use technology to replace workers. This creates less jobs, and the competition among workers leads to mass unemployment. According to the labor theory of value today, the general quality of exchange value is common to all commodities. It's based on the amount of labor required to produce the commodity. In other words, two commodities have equal exchange value if they take the same time to produce. But human labor itself is a commodity, which can be bought and sold like any other commodity. The worker is an employee, and the employer is buying workers. The exchange value of the labor power is a rule on the amount of labor necessary to have workers alive, fed, housed, and able to produce. There is no such thing as a democracy in the workplace or our class. Democracy in the job under capitalism has economic disparities. If you get sick, you arrive a little late, you can get fired. Workers just keep their low wage jobs with the fear of asking for a raise, because workers have to meet the boss's requirements to just get a raise. It's incredible that the labor market is central to capitalism. In the economic realm, these divisions take form of recession and depression throughout history. Recession and depression are recurring characteristics of capitalism. Historically, when capitalism replaced feudalism, it was one ruling class that replaced another, weak ruling class. Let's look at the long history of crisis of overproduction, the class struggle of contradictions between the exploiter and the exploited has always been a historical development. Reactionary labor laws were created due to the working class conditions of the 20th century. The capitalist class was forced to grant workers union rights not because they wanted to. In the 20th century, there were strikes, demonstrations, and militant actions to demand higher wages, shorter hours for women and males. It was a class struggle that attempted to reshape the status quo and achieve a new revolutionary role for working class people. The first crisis in 1825, the Industrial Revolution of the 1800s, was the development of steam power. The capitalists somehow achieved the capability of amplifying production faster than the commodities in the market. When the catastrophe of overproduction in 1837 took place, Karl Marx was a witness of the crisis and based his analysis and understanding towards the role of money and its nature. Reactionaries proposed a new form of social and economic change in the capitalist system, in hope of a better change. In reality, we as revolutionaries should believe in the abolishment of the whole capitalist system by having a revolutionary socialist revolution. The US empire will fall because the working class is realizing that our class is exploited and oppressed. This is a type of consciousness we need to raise in every struggle from Los Angeles to Long Beach to New York. It is a national struggle that is linked to the overall global movement against imperialism. But we have the ability and drive to organize our class. An equitable distribution of wealth is possible under socialism. How much longer is this going to continue? We need to fight alongside with the brothers and sisters in the revolutionary struggle for a better world, for socialism. We need to go about fighting for access to our basic needs. The working class is the vast majority outnumbering the tiny capitalist class, the owners of wealth and the banks. They make up the small minority of the population. To fight for genuine liberation will only be possible under socialism. So help us build a revolutionary movement in the PSL. Thank you.